All right. Okay, we have two types of problems in your homework today. Two types. One of which, I'm going to review with you right now. If we need to do multiple examples, we'll do that. Just to make sure that you are comfortable with it, you know it. The second type of problem is something that's brand new today. It's something you know how to do. It's just the way that they present it is a little goofy. Okay? So, here's the first example I want to talk about. They're going to give you some coordinate you are going to pass through. So we're going to pass through, I'll just make up a number like 3, 6. Okay? So they'll give you that. But then they're going to also say that they're going to want two different things. They want you to be parallel and perpendicular. So not both at the same time. They're going to want both lines. They want two individual lines. So they want you to be parallel and perpendicular one at a time to the line, and they'll provide you an equation to be parallel and perpendicular to. I'll start with something easy. Let's say that that's my problem. Okay? So, here's the idea. They provide you with an equation of some type. They will tell you what coordinate you need to pass through, and you have to come up with the two equations. There's two separate answers, because they want you to be parallel, number one, that's its own equation. They want you to be perpendicular, that's its own equation. And they want you to draw all three lines. They want you to graph the original line and the two new ones you're making. So the new one is a parallel line and then a perpendicular. Does that make sense what you're doing? You have 4 of these in your homework today. 4, that's it. And I want to make sure that you know how to do them. So that's the hard part. So we need to do another example of this once you're done. What?
Homework's only 4 problems.
7, I believe. Total. So here's the idea. So we're gonna get 4 of these. Again, we're gonna need the coordinate and the line we have to be parallel to, and perpendicular to. So I'm gonna draw the original line. I'll put it in blue.
It's a worksheet.
I usually want this equation. I want this equation in slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. At some point today, when you guys are working, I'll put those on the board again. That way you kind of know what you need to look for, so you know what kind of form you need to get to. So when I'm drawing this, I'm going to start at +1, that's my y-intercept. And then my slope is go up 1 over 3. Up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. So this is my original line. Does everyone understand that? Starts at +1, goes up 1 over 3. I want to be parallel and perpendicular to that one. But the coordinate I have to pass through, I have to pass through 3, 6. I have to be passing through that dot. So to be parallel and perpendicular to this line, number one, I'll put these one at a time. So if I want to be parallel, I'm going to use the same slope. So their slope that they used was 1/3. I'm going to use that. And I want to use the coordinate 3, 6. And all I have to do is come up with an equation for that line. Here's what I recommend. When you're writing down the equation, just go point slope form. In the book, they did not state what form they want you in. Just go point slope, so it takes 1 second to write it. So, to be parallel, here's what I'm going to have. This is the point slope form if you don't remember. Right, that's the form we've been using. The m is my slope, so I'm going to put the 1/3 here. And the coordinate I'm passing through is a 3 and a 6. Notice, I will always subtract those numbers, whatever they are. That's my answer. Does everyone feel comfortable with how to write it in point slope form? With the slope plugged in and the coordinate that I'm passing through. Now, I'm going to go draw this. So I'm starting at 3, 6. 3, 6, and I'm going to go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. So there's my parallel line. Again, how I did that, I know what dot I'm passing through, and I'll just use the slope and go from there. Now, the next one, because again, there's 2 parts. I just did the first part, I did parallel. The second part I'm going to do is perpendicular. So I have a brand new equation for that. Questions?
So, for the homework, when it asks for the equation for parallel,
Yep.
we just put the
Point slope. Yep, just put that. Because it's easy, because they don't tell you what other form they want, and just put it that
Can
way.
we simplify it?
Yeah, if you want to distribute, or you want to make negative sign spots, you can do that. I don't really mind. If you stop there, you're good. So, question?
All we gotta do is -3, right? And then
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So for perpendicular, you're absolutely right. So for perpendicular, the slope is just flipping that slope over and then making it negative. So it's technically 3/1, right? We flip the slope over, made it negative, that's what perpendicular is. I'm still passing through 3, 6. And so just like before, we're gonna write down the equation here. So when I write down the equation for this one, it's the same form, so it's -3. It's x minus 3 in there, and the y minus 6 over here. Again, the 6 goes with the y, the 3 goes with the x. That's how I know. Makes sense how I did that. That's the perpendicular one. Now, we're going to go graph this. So from this dot, because I'm still passing through 3 times 6, I'm dropping 3, running 1. Dropping 3, running 1. Dropping 3, running 1. And what's going to happen here, it's going to make your perpendicular lines. In fact, it's perpendicular to both. Is there any questions with the slope idea or graphing, please?
Wait, did you say it had to be a specific, we just had to make a random line that was parallel, right? It didn't have to be like...
No, so the parallel line that we're going to be from here has to pass through this dot.
So it already has a line?
Yeah, so this line is given to you. They'll give you that equation you need to be parallel and perpendicular to. So that's what I'm drawing.
And then do it.
Then we're going to do those other two from there. Yeah, so that original blue line is the thing they provide you. They give you 2 things for every problem. They give you an equation of some type, and they give you a coordinate you have to pass through, and then they're asking for these 2 things for it. The problem is, the equation they give you is random. So sometimes it'll be slope-intercept, sometimes it'll be general, sometimes it'll be standard. I don't think they give me any point slope that I saw in the book. But they're all random. So if we need to do another one, I'll do another one. I'll just put it in a different form so you get used to what you have to do. But this is the first 4 problems out of 7 in your homework. These are the ones that just take the most time because number 1, you have to come up with the equations. That takes a little bit. But then you also have to draw all 3 lines. The original and these 2 on the same graph. If they don't fit, just make it fit. You can make the scale different. They should work. They're out of the book, so they should work. But it's a worksheet. I'm giving you a worksheet today. But I just picked problems out of the book from different pages. So they should fit on a graph.
Do you do general form ones? Or?
Yeah, let's do a general. Okay, so we'll pick any coordinate we want, and I'll pick a new equation. So let's do a general. So again, it says passing through this, parallel and perpendicular to this. So the coordinate we're gonna start at, let's go with 0, 5. That's the dot I want to pass through. And I want to be parallel and perpendicular to x plus 2y minus 10 equals 0. Oh, I can't pick that one. I'm going to switch up the coordinates. Sorry, I can't pick 0, 5. That actually is on there. Let's go with, let's go with 1, negative 4. I just got to make sure to pick a dot somewhere else. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So I want to pass through 1, negative 4, and I want to be parallel and perpendicular to that x plus 2y minus 10 formula. We're going to draw all 3. We'll come with the equations. All right. Everyone have the start written down? Again, this is exactly what the book gives you. You give an equation, they give you some dots to pass through. When I start this problem, because that's general form, how I know it, they have a 0 on the one side, it's general. I'm going to rearrange this thing. I'm going to move the numbers around so it's in slope-intercept form, right? So slope-intercept, I want to get to y equals mx plus b. Why I always want to get to this form, it's easiest to draw when it's in that form. So I want to move the x over first, and the 10. So when I move those over, I'm going to get a negative x and a positive 10. When I move them across the equal sign, and then I'm going to divide everything by negative 2. Or sorry, positive 2. So I'm going to divide everything by a 2 here. So divide everything by 2, I get a negative 1 over 2x, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. And why it was 1 over 2, there's a 1 in front of the x. That's why, dividing everything by 2. All right, does that make sense how I did that? Okay, so drawing that equation, that's starting at positive 5, that's my y-intercept, and my slope is negative half. So I'm starting at positive 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the y-axis. It's going to be going down 1 over 2, so down 1 over 2. I always go to the right. over 2, so here's my line. Okay, so I want to be parallel and perpendicular to that thing. Does everyone feel comfortable with how to draw those? Like how I got it to slope intercept, where I start, how I go from there? Okay, no one's got a question on that? Okay, don't be afraid to ask, because we can iron out some kinks here if you need to. All right, so let's talk about parallel here. I want to be parallel to that thing. So the slope on that line over there, if you can see it, it's that -1/2. So there's my slope. Now the coordinate I'm going to pass through is 1, -4. So that's the dot I'm going to pass through. So the equation I have is y minus the -4, the -1/2, and then x minus the 1. Now if you want, just like Sarah said earlier, we can simplify this to, to add the two numbers together if you want. That, you can just write that, I'm fine with that. You've shown me you know what you're doing. But I need to go draw this. So to draw this line, I'm just going to start at this dot and just use the slope and go from there. That's just how I draw it, that's the easiest way. You don't need to actually rearrange the equations. So 1, -4, so here's that dot that I'm passing through. 1, -4, and my slope is drop 1, run 2, from there. Drop 1, run 2, drop 1, run 2, all right. And they should be parallel to each other. Okay, make sense? That's parallel. Perpendicular, we're gonna flip it over. So the slope, we're going to flip the slope over, so it's going to be 2/1, and it's going to become positive, because you have to make it the opposite sign. And I'm still passing through 1, -4. So my equation is y minus the -4, my 2 is my slope, or 2/1, however you want to write it, and x minus the 1. There's my equation. That's in point slope form. Again, if you want to put 2/1 here, I'm fine, it's the same thing. All right, drawing it. Starting at this dot, 1, -4, I'm going up 2/1, up 2/1, up 2/1, and here's my line. And it should be perpendicular to those other two.
You don't need us to actually like show all that work, right?
I want to see these equations, they ask for those specifically. You have to show me the equations, and it does ask you to graph each one. So, I mean, you're showing
You
most
need
of
the
those.
equation.
Yeah, you need the equations. It literally does ask for those. So, all right, questions on those? Now we've done 2. We'll do as many examples as you want to make sure that you understand it. But again, you have 4 of these today. So these take you the longest. I know they do. There's just a lot of work to be had there. All right, we have one more type of problem that we have to do today, and then I'll turn you loose. Okay, are we good so far? Does anyone need another example or need help on a certain problem? Don't be afraid. If you have a question, ask. Okay. All right, we're going to go to the second type here. The second type. These are your last 3 problems on your worksheet today. It's asking you to find slope for an equation, but it doesn't give you a graph. It gives you something very, very different. Now, why I'm going to bring this up, it is a part of the section you're in. It's about, graphing and slope and all that stuff. But this is something we do a lot in calculus. So it was one of those things like I didn't want to ignore it. I didn't want to skip over it. So they're going to give you an equation. So some function, some mathematical formula like this. And they're going to give you 2 x's they would like you to check. So the 2 x's, and they're going to write it like this. So from x1, which is maybe 1, and to x2, and that's the number 4. I don't know. They just make us 2 numbers. Just put that past in the basket. Okay. So, I think your seat goes up here. All right, now, this is the second type of problem that you have in the homework today. What they ask for is you to find the average rate of change. In fact, I'm going to write that on the board. They want you to find the average rate of change. Okay, what that stands for, it's a big fancy way of saying they want you to find slope. M, which is y minus y, x minus x. Okay, that's what they want you to find. Now the goofy part is they only gave me the 2 x's. What are the 2 x's they gave me on this problem?
Might be.
1 and 4, right? Those are my 2 numbers. I don't care the order you put those. You can put them in any order you want. I'm gonna go 4 minus 1 on the bottom. Again, where I got those numbers, they literally have them here. These are my 2 x's. You can put them in any order you want. Now, those are my x's. I still need the y numbers. So this is where this equation that they give you comes into play. That when you plug in an x into here, it spits out a y number. This literally means a y. That's f of x. That's the answer that comes out. So when I did the 4 and 1, those are the numbers I'm going to plug in, and it will spit out a y number for each of these. So when I take this equation and I plug in the number 4, right, because that's one of my x's, it will spit out my y number. So this is what, 20 plus 1, 21. That's the y number for the number 4. So that y number goes here. Does that make sense? That 21 is associated with the 4. In fact, that's actually the coordinate that you have. It's 421. Because that's the x I plugged in, that's the y that was spit out of it. Now, the other number was the number 1. I'll plug that one in as well. So I'll just start all the way over, plug in the number 1, and it'll spit out its own y number. So this turns out to be a 5 plus 1, which is what, 6? And that's the other y number. That number goes here. You have to go in the right order. So I plugged in the 4 first, I plugged in the 1 second. Does that make sense what you're doing there? That's an average. Now, why this happens, it's just a notational thing. It's getting used to like, what is f of x? It's literally a y. So when you plug in the numbers, it will spit out a y answer. So they're getting used to that whole idea of plugging in numbers. This turns out to be 15 over 3, which ends up being the number 5 for a slope. That's the average rate of change. All right, questions at all about what you're doing on this second type
We're
of
gonna have
problem?
to do this.
Yeah, that's the last 3.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Another one?
Because I'm trying to write, and then I don't know how to do it yet.
If I don't know how to do it, then I'm not getting the worksheet done, am I?
Okay.
Sounds like a you problem.
All right,
Sounds to me like it's a.
okay, so let's pick a new equation, pick any formula you want. So Trav, pick any formula you want.
The screen pass, and I got hit. That's all I'm saying.
Any formula you want.
Any you want to use. I can't, I don't know.
Okay. You just want me to pick one?
Yeah, I'll pick one.
Let's go with 2x minus 4.
That sounds like a both of you.
That sound good?
But mostly his.
Okay, from
Yeah.
x1, let's say, pick a number.
8, 5.
8 and 5, that's one as I heard. x1 to x2, which is 5. Okay, those are the 2 numbers I heard, 8 and 5. Okay, so those are my 2 numbers. So if I want to find the average rate of change, I'm going to use 8 and 5 as my x's, right? They told me the x's, they give me that. This is the part they give you printed. So 8 and 5. I'm going to plug 8 and 5 in, and then it'll spit up my y number, and those numbers I'm going to put on the top and subtract them. So when I plug in an 8 first, because that's my first number I'm using, 8. So 2 times 8,
12.
minus 4, so that's 16 minus 4, which is 12. Okay, there's that number. And the next number I'm plugging in is a 5, so I'll plug a 5 in here. 2 times 5 minus 4, that's 6. And there's my numbers. So this ends up being a 6 over 3, which ends up being just a slope of 2. Make sense?
Yep.
Down a little bit. Okay.
So
that's
why
the-
last time did you plug in the 4 first and then the 1? This
Oh.
time you plugged in.
It's either one number. You can put them in any order you want, but whatever number you picked first down here, that's the first number I plug in. So on that last one, I picked 4 as my front number, right? On the bottom. So I plugged in 4
Oh.
first. It didn't matter. If I wanted to plug in the 1 first, fine, but 1 better sit here then.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, are we good so far? Okay, here's your homework. It's a worksheet. It's due on Thursday. It is literally 7 problems. You have 3 of the graph problems in the front, 1 more graph in the back, because there's 4 of those graph problems. Hack, you'll have to try to get notes from somebody here. And then the last 3 are these. Okay? All right, put your name on it. Don't forget that right away. Put your name on it. It's due on Thursday. Yes. Hey, just be careful what you're typing that into. Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
Alright. That's a number you don't want to just hand out to somebody.
What are you getting? Your social security?
Are
Yeah.
you doing an application?
Yeah.
Okay, hey, let me turn off the camera before you do that.
Shouldn't you do a pond higher? That's
What?
I would write.
What?
You're filling it-
Do a what?